argument because we have, you know, enough people in our country that we can fucking kill the Russian invaders if they ever invaded. Fuck you. And also, it would not be seen as a positive thing in our country by our people. It would cause a rebellion if they were to be seen as conceding to Russia's demands. So that was what was going on even before the invasion.
This is one of the few public clips of a Ukrainian soldier firing a next-generation light anti-tank weapon, an NLAW. And this is what it can do. It means just one Ukrainian can take out a Russian tank or armored vehicle.
Yep.
Thousands of NLAWs were supplied by the UK and Luxembourg, while numerous countries have sent other kinds of anti-tank weapons. We counted up all of the military aid promised Ukraine in just the first week of war. The European Union and 27 countries committed more than $1 billion worth of weapons and supplies for the fight. What could have taken months of bureaucratic approvals, political maneuvering, and logistical coordination happened in a matter of days. So,
oh my God, someone says still not as dangerous as my mother-in-law. God damn it, dude.
Why did so many countries race to arm Ukraine?
Huh.
What did they send? And what is it all worth?
I wonder why they did that. Probably because they care about Ukrainian lives, I think. That's why. Definitely. That's no other reason. No other purpose. I'm sure that's the only reason.
Russia invaded Ukraine on February 24th. Within 24 hours, Lithuania, Poland, France, Estonia, and the United States all announced military aid for Ukraine. Biden approved $350 million in military aid.
Dude, I love fat planes, dude. That shit looks fire, dude. Look at that.
Biden approved $350 million.
Why did Russia supply weapons to separatists? Why do you think? It's literally, dude, what Russia supplying weapons to separatists is a one-to-one comparison with what NATO countries did to Ukraine against Russia. It's literally, if you can understand why Russia gave weapons to separatists in a proxy war, okay, then you can totally understand why NATO supplied weapons to Ukraine in a proxy war against Russia. Yeah, it's the exact same thing. That's precisely what's going on. Also, God, look at that big ass fucking plane, dude. It's so sick. That was his point, dude. Lol. No, I know, but I agree with that.
$1 million in military aid. That became the largest single transfer of arms.
Sorry, but this is not the same. What? Why? What do you mean? The goal is 1,000%. Don't pretend the separatists weren't Russian soldiers. Yeah, dude, everyone living in fucking Donbass is a Russian soldier. Yo, there were, of course, mercenaries, dog. Of course. Okay, little green men. I know. I agree. Yes, of course there were fucking mercenaries. What do you think the CIA was doing? Do you think that, like, why were there Ukrainians training in Canada? Have you ever thought about that? Like, what do you think was going on there? It's literally a one-to-one comparison.
U.S. warehouses to another country ever. It was the start of a flood of military supplies sent to Ukraine in just the first week of war, as protests around the world called for an end to the invasion.
Stop Russian aggression!
And the internet erupted over claims that the U.S. offered a different kind of help to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, the chance to be evacuated. Zelensky reportedly answered, "I need ammunition, not a ride." On February 26th, 10 more countries announced they would send aid, including...
Not the same because Crimea annexed by Russians and even Donbass exploded because of Russian forces leak in Ukraine. What? Ukraine didn't start war in Donbass region nor the current invasion, so I don't think it's a one-to-one. No, also, Ukraine is the victim in this situation. I wasn't making a comparison about Ukraine. You need to also understand that being a victim in this situation also means your sovereignty or your personal interests or your personal moves are somewhat irrelevant in the conversation. That's the unfortunate reality here is that, yes, Russia took advantage of separatist interests in the region, totally fucking beefed them up, legitimized them, okay? And I think that Ukraine's collapse only strengthens Russia's arm industry. When Russia develops an independent economy, they'll just continue to use that leverage to manage the conflict in the same way America does, and not even use anything except drones for warfare, so none of this is going to be good from now on ever. This is the I mean, I don't know enough about Russia's defense industry. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know. Yeah, I can't conclusively, I can't even say this is a stupid take or not. I don't know. I literally don't know. Okay. What I do know is that Ukraine is fucked. Ukraine is fucked from the jump. I am from Ukraine. Wait, what? Oh, come on. Dude, I can't believe you just banned a very definitely, very clearly Ukrainian chatter, dude. On the video of North Korea giving Russia shit. W ad blocker. I am from the Ukraine. Am using Google Trends. Please don't talk about what's happening just for view. El Hasan. Come on, bro. We gotta unban him. We gotta see what else he's saying. I need to hear what this man who's clearly from Ukraine is saying.
Stinger missiles, helmets, machine guns, and fuel. Many shipments broke countries' long-standing traditions of not sending weapons to active war zones. Berlin reversed course to send 1,000 anti-tank weapons and 500 surface-to-air missiles. On February 27th, 6 more countries announced millions worth of military shipments, including 5,000 anti-tank weapons. By the 5th day, a Russian military convoy was headed directly towards Kyiv. For the first time in its history, the European Union financed and purchased weapons for a country outside its borders, to the tune of $505 million. Europeans saw a much bigger danger in the invasion.
I'm sorry to do this, but my friend is bitching to me that you haven't covered Katanji, and all I was wondering is if you ever covered her nomination at all. If you don't need to answer, you don't want to, of course, sorry, man, but he won't just shut up. I literally covered it for the past, 3 days for hours. Pretty funny, for hours.
Target is not only Ukraine. The target is the stability in Europe and the whole of the international peace order. And we will hold President Putin accountable for that.
By the end of the first week,
I have 3 friends from Ukraine, some from Lviv, one from Donbass. They moved to another country. Of course, their stories a bit separates, but don't say that Donbass attacked Ukraine. Go check some old news about what happened after Maidan. Yeah, people fucking think that, Euromaidan was just, hugs and kisses. Obviously, the fucking government was incredibly brutal and also super fucking corrupt. But people also think that, there was no activation of right-wing paramilitaries made by American government officials that were literally there. John McCain just went to fucking Ukraine for no reason. He just wanted to go there. You know what I mean? Amy Klobuchar went to Ukraine for no fucking reason. The American government literally twice said we should stop arming Nazis in the form of legislation for no reason. None of those things are real, okay? None of that happened. That the Minsk agreement was violated by Ukraine as well as Russia, but definitely by Ukraine for no reason. And let me tell you something. The power, or rather the overwhelming air superiority in that situation was in the hands of the Ukrainian National Guard and the Ukrainian military when they were shelling cities, not dissimilar to how Russia is shelling the rest of Ukraine right now. Okay? How do so many people know about Ukrainian politics? I'm a fucking retail stalker in college. I still don't know shit. They don't. They just have heard things here and there from YouTubers that are making arguments for them that they're just coming in here to repeat so they can feel like moral superiority or some shit. It's literally just fake.
The US and NATO had sent more than 17,000 anti-tank weapons, like this Swedish-made AT-4.
В принципі, вона не така важка, як казалось.
Generally speaking, this weaponry isn't that hard to use, as it may seem at first.
В принципі,
We can get to use that.
Some of what the EU and US sent are newer weapons, like Javelin and Stinger missiles. But much of the military equipment shipped by European countries is older weapons from the Soviet era.
When Germany said we're going to deliver a couple of thousand air defense missiles, those were things.
Azov had only 300 soldiers during the 2014-2015 Civil War and only saw combat in Mariupol. Yeah, totally. It's only Azov that's like right-wing. You're right. No one else. You know, even then it's like, yeah, they only have 300 people. And even then they've only admitted to 10% of their forces being Nazis, which is like a wild thing. There was a BBC News article that I was watching that came out yesterday defending the Azov Nazi stuff, and it blew my fucking mind. I was like, this is completely psychotic that they wrote this. Like, I cannot fucking believe that they just straight up out loud are like, yeah, well, technically they admitted that only 10 to 20%. Adam something posted a 40-minute video about how Gravel lies about Azov, so a bunch of Euro sock dems might come in here being fucking annoying. Dude, I'm sorry to say this, but, you know, Europeans and fucking being secret crypto neo-Nazis goes hand in hand sometimes, okay? Europe and pro-NATO Europeans being a fucking fan of Nazis or running defense for Nazis is not exactly news to me, okay? Holy shit. Also, Adam something, look, I know he's got some good videos on fucking, you know, engineering stuff, but deeply fucking frustrating to constantly you know, have this conversation, especially when it's literally an ex-alt-right guy who was a Nazi until like literally a fucking year ago. Okay, maybe it's real comfortable for someone to fall back into those propaganda talking points. That is a straight up fucking red line for the record, okay? That's completely unacceptable. Like, the idea that, like, we should continue arming fucking right-wing paramilitaries, or it was good that we did that, and we should keep doing that, is great. Yeah, we totally. That's never been bad. That's a little unfair to not everyone is born to leftist. I agree. I am very, very open-minded. I'm very, very open-minded to people who, and I believe in rehabilitation, but, you know, it's wild to watch, like, Western media straight up fucking advocate for ISIS 2, like white ISIS 2, right in front of our fucking eyes, and I'm seeing people that are supposed to be like, you made an entire post on YouTube saying nuclear war isn't so bad. Adam's like, please, okay, I don't want to. Jesus Christ, dude. I mean, I hyped them up a lot in the beginning. You guys are crazy. Like, if you were open-minded, you wouldn't have anger in your voice when talking about other sides. Brother, there is no side in the war that I take. I only side with the working class. But there is one fucking aspect that I do not abide by, or one aspect of any kind of war that I do not agree with, and that is Nazis. Okay, that's it. It's pretty simple. Okay, that's what I care about, the Ukrainian people. Okay, first and foremost. And I also recognize that when you have a fucking country that is about to be flooded with a bunch of right-wing psychos undermining their influence and making it seem as though they have no fucking power whatsoever, is doing their bidding. Of course I'm going to be angry at that.
Things which they had inherited from the GDR. So these are things which are 30 years old or more.
It's something of a benefit. since Ukrainian troops were largely trained on Soviet-era weapons. At the end of the first week, Russian forces had seized a city in the south, but Ukrainians were holding on to the capital.
He thought he could roll into Ukraine and the world would roll over. Instead, he met with a wall of strength he never anticipated or imagined.
In the months leading up to the current conflict, the United States sent military equipment in anticipation of prolonged street fighting. 3 weeks after Russia's invasion, the U.S. promised Ukraine another $1 billion in weapons and supplies. The U.S. also announced...
Like, can you imagine if I was like, yeah, you know, the Wagner group are Nazis, like, you know, well, technically they're not actually Nazis. It's just the guy was a big fan of Wagner as a composer. And, you know, he just likes the aesthetics of the swastika. And that's why he has the tattoos, you know, on his body. And also, like, they're not even, like, comprised of the entirety of the Russian military. They're just a private... They're just a fucking, you know, private military contractor that's being used. It's not that big of a deal. Like, who cares if he has, like, a swastika on his chest? Because that's what you fucking sound like when you do this for Azov, okay? That's literally what you're doing. The best thing to hope for is those fucking Nazis meet at the battlefront and they both die, okay? That's the best thing you can hope for. You just sit back, no civilians get touched, and those two fucking shitheads fight each other and die collectively together, okay? It's insane. This idea that, like, oh, yeah, they're just like, you know, they have Nazis too. Okay, fuck them. They should also meet the same fucking end.
$6.5 billion in military spending on the crisis, which includes sending more troops to Europe. There were already 9,000 U.S. troops stationed on the Polish side of the border, and other NATO members have doubled up on troops in Eastern Europe. It's a significant show of strength from a bloc of allies.
Poke made a rap on a beat while you were ranting about Euro sock
They
thems.
admitted that only 10 to 20%.
Adam something posted a 40-minute video about how Gravel lies about Azov, so a bunch of Euro sock thems might come in here being fucking annoying. Dude, I'm sorry to say this, but, you know, Europeans and fucking being secret crypto neo-Nazis goes hand in hand sometimes, okay? Europe and pro-NATO Europeans being a fucking fan of Nazis or running defense for Nazis is not exactly news to me, okay? Holy shit. Also, Adam something, look, he's got some good videos on fucking, you know, engineering stuff, but deeply fucking frustrating to constantly, you know, have this conversation, especially when it's literally an ex-alt-right guy who was a Nazi until, like, literally a fucking year ago, okay? Maybe it's real comfortable for someone to fall back into those propaganda talking points. This is what I should be doing. I think this is how I can get my message across with clarity.
Whose history helps explain how
Hold
this
on, we gotta run this back.
conflict in military spending on the anticipation of prolonged street fighting.
Okay.
3 weeks after Russia's invasion, the U.S. promised Ukraine another $1 billion in weapons and supplies. The U.S. also announced $6.5 billion in military spending on the crisis, which includes sending more troops to Europe. There were already 9,000 U.S. troops stationed on the Polish side of the border, and other NATO members have doubled up on troops in Eastern Europe. It's a significant show of strength from a bloc of allies whose history helps explain how this conflict was sparked in the first place. NATO, or the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, formed after World War II. 12 countries banded together to counter the Soviet Union during the Cold War. It was a mutual defense pact. Attacking one NATO country meant attacking all of them. Ukraine isn't a part of NATO, but after the fall of the Soviet Union in 1991,
What else did
it
they
gave
do?
up thousands of nuclear weapons in exchange for a guarantee of security by the US, UK, and Russia. Starting in 1999, NATO brought in countries that had been part of the former Soviet.
Wait, hold on. Let's run that back real quick. So that's really interesting. They're talking about, like, you know, all these countries, right? All these countries, which of course Germany included. After, I wonder who were like the militarized groups in said countries that would have an anti-communist point of view. You know, because this is like the aftermath of World War II. who had military capabilities or militant attitudes towards the motherfuckers that literally liberated them? I wonder who in these countries, just think about it for a second. Just literally think. I'm just asking you to think for 1 second. For 1 second, who in these countries, and I'm not talking about Great Britain because like they were on a fucking fuck communists POV from the jump, but you know, because despite Stalin's numerous attempts at consolidating power with the West ahead of time in the buildup to World War II, you know, those cries kind of fell on deaf ears. Remember, everybody that says like Molotov-Ribbentrop or whatever, they're fucking pieces of shit who are telling you an ahistorical approach. But who do you think these guys in these countries that were fucking destroyed, who do you think in these countries was willing and able to fight and had the wherewithal, knowledge, and more importantly, the enthusiasm to fight communists? Huh? Think about that. Who? Because it certainly wasn't the fucking communists in those countries, which at the time there were viable communist parties in said countries. It wasn't the resistance to the fascists, because the resistance to the fascists in a lot of instances was comprised of Popular Front figures. Popular Front being, you know, pro-Soviet figures. It was the other side. Those who did not die in the war that, you know, had an expressly anti-Soviet attitude in these countries. Because, you know, World War II was won by the Soviets. That was the, you know, by the overwhelming majority in every single one of these, even Western European nations at the time, was that, yes, of course, the USSR played a significant role in the death and destruction of Nazi superpower. Okay? So the remnants of that and the influence of that, even in Western Europe, was pretty significant. So how did that go away? What happened to all of the communist parties in these countries? What happened to all of the social democratic parties in these countries that were, at the very least, reformist, revisionist, but still adjacent? What happened to all the trade unionists? Where'd they go? What could have happened, I wonder? I don't know. I mean, it's just, they probably decided, no, we fucking love the very same fascists that we were dying at the hands of, and the helpful resistance, Popular Front, and also all the anarchists and all the communists that like helped liberate Europe and were anti-Nazi from the jump. Those guys are bad, actually. Despite how popular they were in polling.
Country meant attacking all of them. Ukraine isn't a part of NATO, but after the fall of the Soviet Union in 1991, it gave up thousands of nuclear weapons in exchange for a guarantee of security by the US, UK, and Russia. Starting in 1999, NATO brought in countries that had been part of the former Soviet bloc, like Poland and Hungary. The continued expansion has made Putin furious. He's made his case by claiming Western leaders promised not to expand NATO, even though there never was an agreement not to expand.
Сегодня достаточно одного взгляда на карту, чтобы увидеть, как западные страны.
Wait, that one's bullshit too.
Has made Putin.
You literally can't, on the one hand, be like, wow, Russia never abided by the original security commitments that they made in the denuclearization agreement, which was a big L for Ukraine, okay, straight up. But then turn around and be like, also, no such promises were made that NATO would not expand post-Eastern, post-Germany. Okay. Sorry, you didn't have it in writing, so it doesn't matter. Well, I guess the lesson you need to learn is never trust the Western leaders. Never take them at their word for it. And I guess get it in writing. But if any one of you thinks that the West would not have expanded NATO regardless, even if it was in writing, is a fucking dumbass, okay? So you want the West to be a USSR puppet? I mean, we're talking about like a degree of historical revisionism that would be so like it's like a movie at that point. I have no idea what that would look like.
Furious. He's made his case by claiming Western leaders promised not to expand NATO, even though there never was an agreement not to expand.
Сегодня достаточно одного взгляда на карту, чтобы увидеть, как западные страны сдержали обещание не допустить продвижения НАТО на восток. Попросту обманули. Мы получили одну за другой 5 волн расширения НАТО.
And back in 2008, after NATO's Secretary General promised Georgia and Ukraine that they could one day become members, Putin invaded Georgia. 6 years later, he annexed part of Ukraine and has since demanded that Ukraine be blocked from ever joining NATO.
Мы четко понимаем, что при
Ironically, the video reveals the ultimate intentions here. You know? They didn't try to Finland? Yeah, I wonder why. Perhaps it was like, perhaps because George W. Bush didn't say Finland should join NATO. He just said Georgia and Ukraine should join NATO. Why would Finland not join NATO? Or why would that not matter? Why would George W. Bush's opinion on Finland not matter? Because Finland is a fucking European country that is better developed than Georgia and Ukraine. So they couldn't fucking manipulate Finland in the same way that they could with security assurances and lie to them and act like they're going to fucking defend them. Okay? That's why. Like, can you imagine being in Georgia and thinking you're going to be in the EU? Can you imagine being in Turkey and thinking that you're going to ever be in the EU? I can. I grew up in that fucking country, okay? I know what it's like. They just dangle it in front of you. They're like, come on, you're going to join the EU. It's going to be fucking sick. Never going to happen. You're a psycho if you think that. I mean, it's not. It's sad. It's sad to think that it's going to happen, but it's just not going to happen. That's what they do, though.
From ever joining NATO.
Мы четко понимаем, что при подобном сценарии уровень военных угроз для России кардинально, в разы повысится.
Hold on.
Biden has said,
sorry, I missed all the fucking
Georgia. 6 years later, he annexed part of Ukraine and has since demanded that Ukraine be blocked from ever joining NATO.
Мы четко понимаем, что при подобном сценарии уровень военных угроз для России кардинально, в разы повысится.
Biden has said that the U.S. would fight back if any NATO country was attacked, but that U.S. troops will not enter Ukraine. So, without NATO troops or air power, can this military aid turn the tide? Ukraine's military spending was roughly 1/10 of Russia's in 2020, and their military counts 209,000.
Yeah, except the CIA and NATO and the Western Union thought the communists could take over, so they planned a little thing called stay behind organizations to ensure that never happened. Brother, communists literally governed France. Holy shit, Americans need to be more open about world history. Also, look up who got elected in France in 1981, and he had a socialist government before World War II as well. But I know about what you said. Yes, my dad, what? Helped the CIA, which is ironic because he was a Trotskyite. Oh. That isn't ironic that your Trotskyite father helped the CIA. I mean, it's only ironic if you... Anyway. Yeah, I guess it's ironic. What's next? Are you going to tell me an anarchist was also helping the CIA? A double ironic. So much irony. Anyway, don't ever have a fucking argument in my chat ever again without me being involved in it. That's crazy. Up stay behind in the murder of Olof Palme. Dude, I know. What do you think I'm talking about when I talk about fucking Gladio and what NATO's involvement was with right-wing paramilitaries and reactionary fucking groups that they activated to do bloody violence in countries that had a sympathetic point of view to fucking communist and Soviet era influence. Okay? What do you think? That's what I'm talking about. That is what it is. That is what I'm referencing when I say who do you think had like military capabilities or at least army training at the time? It's and a lot of fucking opinions about or demonstrated anti-Soviet sentiment.
1,000 active members, less than a quarter the size of Russia's armed forces. The tank war is also uneven. That's why Javelin and NLAW missiles have become such an important part of the war.
And Russian tanks have serious problems dealing with these things. So you run around in Russian tank units, you will think, where are those javelins and when are they going to hit me?
Ukrainians have used them to destroy numerous tanks and armored vehicles so far. But it's in the air where Russia truly dominates. Russia has more than 1,500 jets to Ukraine's 100, and that's what makes Stinger missiles so crucial. It's a surface-to-air, shoulder-fired weapon that can take down low-flying fighter jets or attack helicopters. But Stingers can only do so much. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky asked NATO for a no-fly zone, something NATO rejected completely.
І зараз я повторюю знову, якщо ви не закриєте наше небо, то це лише питання часу, коли російські ракети впадуть вже на вашу територію, на територію НАТО, на домівки громадян країн НАТО.
But to enforce a no-fly zone, NATO would have to fire on Russian planes that violate the zone.
This video is actually not bad. I mean, it's still biased, but like, it's not bad in describing a lot of this shit.
NATO would also need to destroy Russian surface-to-air missile defenses on the ground. All of that could risk a broader war with Russia. 1 month after the start of the war, Ukraine still controlled Kyiv. There's much talk of Ukraine's resilience, but the question remains if they can stand up to Russia alone, even with all this extra firepower.
Why do we react so vehemently to NATO's expansion? This was when he was talking to Oliver Stone.